So we had ended up covering sensation, but it's not enough for a stimulus to just be sensed. It must also be attended. In other words, it must capture your attention. So now we're going to look at the process of attention. Clearly, you cannot pay attention to every piece of product information that you encounter. A very prominent cognitive psychologist, Dan Kahneman, has shown that selective attention is controlled by both voluntary and involuntary factors. This is a picture of Dan's book called Thinking Fast and Slow. This is also one of the books on your recommended further reading list under handouts on Blackboard. Now, this one is definitely a tougher read, but it's pretty amazing. In fact, if you can read the small print there, you'll see that it won a Pulitzer Prize. Okay, so Pulitzer Prize winning book on your recommended reading list. Dan Kahneman. So we voluntarily pass over certain information that we do not find meaningful and or appealing. We do it all the time, right? For instance, with DVD recorded episodes, we've gotten really good at muting or fast forward through the commercials. In apps, we are usually forced to play the commercials, but we can still mute them, right? Some industry experts predict that advertisers are eventually going to be forced to provide incentives to encourage you to watch TV advertising, such as perhaps a reduction in the cable bill for each ad that you watch. So it's a little easier for marketers to manipulate involuntary selective attention, for instance, by increasing the salience of their ads. Because listen closely to the definition of salience. Salience, first off, is context dependent, and it refers to the extent to which a stimulus draws your attention involuntarily. So you can't do anything about it, right? So some ads and packages just stick out in certain environments because they are different and they're interesting. But we say certain environments because it is context dependent. Okay, so some of them stick out within their environment because they are different and interesting. For instance, Pringles stands out from other potato chips on the shelves because of its tall cylindrical packaging. Most packages are designed to maximize advertising space, but what Pringles loses in advertising space, they more than make up for in salience. But remember that salience depends on context. A Pringles can would not stand out in a display consisting of cans of tennis balls. In the same vein, a Rolls-Royce may be really salient on most college campuses, but would not be at all in the parking lot of an exclusive country club. Okay, so salience is context dependent and refers to the extent to which a stimulus draws your attention involuntarily. So now we're going to look at a few different ways to achieve salience. One of them is novelty. A novel stimulus is one that is new, different, or unexpected. Advertisers constantly experiment with novel ads and promotions. So this is a really good review question. What is the term for novel, unconventional ads? That should be really easy for you now, right? It's guerrilla advertising or guerrilla marketing. So, we've been looking at examples of that after every lecture. I should put that question on the final exam as kind of a freebie for you. Sometimes the product itself is novel. And so if word just gets out, it sells itself, right? Also, discovering new media platforms can also increase novelty. Ads have appeared in many new places besides those that were described earlier in an earlier lecture here, such as, look on the screen, the picture on the screen, such as on eggs, also on the side of drinking straws, and even on airline sickness bags. Now, obviously, most products you would not want associated with airline sickness bags, but think nausea relief meds. Intensity is another way that that you can achieve salience with your ad. So this is referring to intense stimuli because they stand out simply because of the high degree of a characteristic. Like it could be a larger than normal display or a brighter than average billboard, though really tough competition in places like Times Square, Vegas, right? Or a louder than program volume radio or TV ad. And then a third way is complexity. This is a little bit trickier though, because what they're talking about are stimuli that require cognitive processing to make sense of them. Because if you draw that line really well and don't cross it, okay, these ads can be really intriguing and draw attention, but it's easy to be too complex and then overwhelming. So an ad that makes you think, presents a little puzzle, or prompts an interesting question can add that component of complexity. Complexity can also be accomplished through dynamics, so constant change and movement. An example might be digital billboards that constantly change images. Then there's a really cool example, the text that displays one letter at a time and it appears to move off the screen. Okay? And that's complex because of the dynamics, but also because it challenges you to read it in time. Attention is also involuntarily drawn by vivid stimuli. So you looked at salience and 3 ways you can achieve salience. Now we're going to look at vividness. Instead of being context dependent now, they are dependent on an individual's perspective. So vivid stimuli stand out, but unlike salience, they are not context dependent. Instead, they depend on an individual's perspective. So stimuli that are vivid to you apply to your interests and your desires. So this is the way I thought about it. When I was an undergrad and I was first learning about vividness, the phrase came to mind that really helped me to remember this, and maybe it will help some of you. So salient stimuli grab the attention of all people some of the time, while vivid stimuli grab the attention of some people all the time. Now, vividness can be achieved through emotional interest, concreteness, or proximity, all relevant to you, the consumer, okay? Personally relevant to you. So let's look at each of these one at a time. So we're going to start here with emotional interests. So this refers to your goals, hobbies, and interests. So let me give you an example. Stamp collectors find everything about stamps to be vividly interesting. Even the watermarks, the postmarks, even the perforations. Stamp collectors often dream about stamps. By contrast, people who don't collect stamps will not likely find these stimuli to be vividly interesting and probably are not going to dream about them, right? Now, the second way that you can achieve vividness in your ad is through concrete stimuli. Concrete stimuli are specific and easy to imagine or visualize. So reading about a hamburger is less concrete than reading about and seeing a picture of one. Seeing a picture of one makes it easier to imagine or visualize. Reading about and seeing one is less concrete than reading about seeing one and smelling one, right? So some food establishments pump their tempting odors out into the environment around their buildings. Information that is proximal. So this third one, proximity. Information that is proximal, meaning closer, has more vivid impact than information that is distant or not immediately relevant. So we're now going to look at 3 different kinds of personal proximity. Usually when we think of proximity, we think of this first one, spatial proximity, the location of events. So the closer something is to your home or other personally relevant spaces, the more vivid it is likely to appear. A vacuum that is demonstrated in your home is more likely to impress you than this very same demonstration in a store. But there are two other interesting kinds of proximity. So this first one, second on our list, is temporal proximity. This refers to how recently an event occurred in time, temporal. So your memory of the really horrible flight that you had the last time you flew Delta Airlines is likely to be more vivid than the really great flight you had with them 5 years ago. Makes sense? And the third kind of proximity, sensory proximity, refers to how first-hand experience is more vivid than second-hand experience. So when you can try a product yourself, so in a store demo, for instance, the experience is more vivid than having a voice in a commercial tell you about how it works. Krispy Kreme Donuts gives out a free warm glazed donut to each store guest so that you can taste them for yourself. Thank you, Krispy Kreme. We love you. Think about it. Think about that vacuum demonstration in your home. If the person demonstrates it, that's one thing, right? It's more vivid than if it's done in the store, the same demonstration. But what about if they get you to demonstrate it? That would be a first-hand experience, right? So that would be when that was sensory proximal.